Hello and welcome everybody, I'm Proper Variant, and today we have Dev Diary number 121 for CK3 and Active Life. Today we're going to talk primarily about activities, in particular about hunts and about pilgrimages. There is a lot in here that is quite interesting, and I think that we should be quicker than in the last couple of weeks. Yes, there is a lot of content here, but I think the variety of the content and ultimately the density of it is somewhat lower. Now I will tell you that starting tomorrow, or rather tomorrow, I will be doing a video as well where I just summarize everything that was in the last week's worth of content when it comes to CK3 upcoming DLCs and the free patch as well. We're going to cover it there as well in a shorter format if you're more into that, but right now we're going to just go through the dev diary and analyze it bit by bit as we do. So this dev diary is actually written by three people. We're going to be starting with Matthew's part here at the very start. I'm Matthew, one of the programmers on the team, and today we're going to be talking about the overhaul we've done to the activity system as well as the improvements to two existing activities, hunts and pilgrimages. We will be covering the other improved existing activities, feasts, blot, now known as festival, and playdates in the future as well. I'm going to kick things off with how we've changed the activity system to better support our goals. On release, activities were little more than a random event chain. They never felt as involved or interesting as we had wanted them to be. You had very little agency over what was actually going to happen in your activity when planning one, or when your guests arrived, and it was not very clear to see how your activity was actually progressing as you played. So, I will say, I think when it comes to activities, there is a very, very definitive reality here that, you know, for example, when you look at pilgrimages, you will say, okay, I might do this pilgrimage if it aids me in getting the exact modifier that I need, for example, to get this war goal going, to reform my religion, you know, the very, very classic stuff, to get to a level of, for example, piety that then allows me to do other things. I think pilgrimages are the best examples for activities being shallow, because you're looking at this and you're saying to yourself, I'm using this just for the result rather than for the activity itself. Changing this is really positive, and what they've done here is quite the big change. And I think ultimately, and you can't really apply this to the Royal Court itself, but these are definitely the lessons learned from the Royal Court DLC when it comes to the repetitiveness of the Royal Court events. First of all, we have moved activities out of the decisions menu and into their own dedicated list in the UI. This list is where you will see the activities that you can host, any ongoing activities that you can join, as well as your current activity too. You can also see your current activity in the HUD as well. Right, this right here is a new window. It's this button right there, right? And you can see that we can host grand activities, grand tour, grand tournament, and grand weddings, and then you can host regular activities such as feasts, festivals, hunts, and pilgrimages. And then down here, Duke Crutoy's Feast. So this is an open invitation, although the X here, I'm not sure whether we can attend this, whether like it's too far away. You know, we already are in a position where we can't actually attend it because we should have started traveling earlier, but I really, really like the idea of invitations being a more conscious choice, right? Right now it's like, oh, hey, you want to come? And then you say yes or no, and then you just click through a couple of events, and that is it. Now getting an invitation and then saying, you know what, I'm immediately going to start my route, I'm going to maybe stop by over there, boom, let's go. That sounds way, way cooler. When you click on any of these activities, you get to see a more detailed breakdown of what hosting one is likely to have as an outcome for you and your guests, as well as any other useful information like missing a master of the hunt or how long the cooldown will be. You can also flag each activity type to notify you via alert when it is available to host. Much like decisions, this is on by default for the more important grand activities, right? So we could just turn this off as well. Notify when you can join tournaments. I see. Can I turn off, you know, I would like it actually if I could turn off notifications for particular events, if they, you know, just come from account, that sort of thing. Anyway, makes sense. This is fairly classic and standard stuff right here. Host a hunt. So this is an actual host screen. The chase provides thrills and dangers in abundance and serves to provide a firm grounding in riding and archery. Hunts are overseen by the master of the hunt, who will announce sightings of beasts, common, rare, and fierce. And the effects could be anticipated rewards from hosting a hunt activity. May gain Glory Hound Vassal Opinion. I love this so much. I love this so much that this is a direct and immediate part, not a necessary part. Listen, if my Glory Hound vassals like me, I don't need to do anything, right? If they just like me, they like me. But this is a new way of engaging with people rather than scheming to sway them, getting a hook on them, that sort of stuff, and it directly connects it. See, there was this debate on the forums, and I want to say on the forums exclusively because it is just such a tiny gated community. But they were having this debate on the issue of, okay, wait a minute, they already said that doing a grand tour is optional. That's bad, because it should be mandatory. It should be important to balance your realm. And to that I can really only say, I don't think you should ever have any mechanics such as the tours or holding court be mandatory. Holding court is the least mandatory thing that you can do. After I saw the thread, I actually started playing CK3, I opened up the game and I said to myself, what happens if I never even open my court window? Like, I never even look at it. I don't host my court, I don't open it to put artifacts, nothing, right? And the result is nothing. You can completely ignore it. Now, the lesson here is, when you can ignore it and everybody's still happy, that might be balancing around every other factor. People clearly are too happy by default. If I do have to open it and there's no other choice and I have to mandatorily click through a couple of events every 5 years, that sucks, okay? What we have right here is this optional incentive. May gain Glory Hound Vassal Opinion. If you need it, you should do this. If you don't need it, you can do other things. And again, if you never need it, then maybe the balancing is off somewhere else. I'm very happy that this is optional, but it is something that definitely gives you bonuses. You may also gain trophy artifacts. Participants may gain prestige. They may lose stress. They may gain the hunter trait, and they may, participating acclaimed knights may gain glory. Glory, interesting. You're not employing a master of the hunt, and hosting a hunt will be unavailable for 2 years. Right, so classic stuff, but this is really cool. I really like the way they're doing this. This also directly, of course, connects to the buildings. The buildings that make it so that, you know, for example, having a hunt is cheaper, or you might have better sightings, that sort of stuff. And this being connected to this activity, really cool. I really like this new approach rather than just, let's have a hunt and then click through a couple of events and that is it. This view also contains all activities that you can potentially join, either ones you have been specifically invited to or any grand tournaments nearby, as they are open activities that anyone can choose to join of their own volition. Invitations list information about the activity and why you might want to attend as a guest, as after all, not only the host of an activity benefits from attending, and over a full game you can quite easily attend more activities than you host. If you accept the invitation, you are taken to the travel planner, where you can pick out your route and travel options, etc. Invitation to Duke Crusader's feast, so that is the guy that we saw beforehand. To the serene Duke Shimamogil of Pomerania, I hereby invite you to a feast at my castle in Kessinia. Together we shall enjoy the fruits of the duchy. Signed, Duke Krutoy of Valencia. Steinwallen says hello. Held in Rostock, and the activity phase is right here, so these are different phases. Travel time 27 days. You join Duke Krutoy's fest in Rostock, and what are the options? I may gain opinion with other characters, I may lose stress, and I may become an eager reveler. That makes perfect sense. Image of an activity invite, a parchment background with a letter invite, a timeline of the activity phase, details on the effects of joining, and so on and so forth. Right. Once you click to plan an activity, that is where the real big changes begin, as you get taken to all the new activity to the all new activity planner. The first choice you make in most activities is what special type you would like to engage in. These types set the overall theme and tone of the activity. You could have, for example, a normal grand marriage, and you could have a bloody wedding. Both of these are different activity types. Some are available to everyone, and others are unlocked by more specific conditions, such as various perks or modifiers. The Bloody Wedding being a best example, I think, in this case. Very much hidden behind a particular perk. These provide a variety of different potential rewards that you are aiming to get by hosting this activity, and what costs or risks you may incur to. Right, hunt. Choose a quarry from a variety of local animals. Increases Venator Hunter trait experience. We're going to see this in a second. I really like what they've done to lifestyle traits. High apparel grants more prestige, right, makes sense. Martial sexes may actively participate, so this is a normal hunt. Falconry allows everybody to participate, and then non-martial sexes may spectate, so this is just for the hunt. Proud and cunning beasts stalk the wilderness, outwitting and overcoming them tests valor and hones skill. And this right here would be legendary. I assume, well, this is basically right, if you see an animal, or rather, if there is a legendary sighting, you can go out and try to get it, but obviously it will be harder, being, you know, a legendary hunt. Cool, so this is the very first change right here. After you decide your type, you then need to pick a location, or depending on your activity, multiple locations, such as in a tour where your activity will occur. There you might, for example, go through a couple of your vassals. The map automatically zooms out to fit all the locations on screen, mainly so you don't forget about any of those holy sites that are a bit further away from your realm. The map will highlight all valid locations that you can go to, and every location is given a score of how good hosting there is likely to be. What the score and impact is depends on each individual activity. So, for a hunt, things like terrain can impact your success chance. For a tournament, having relevant buildings can reduce the cost, and tours care more about the vassal's opinion of you. Right, oh, that is so cool. So, not only is the purpose of the tour obviously what determines how things will go and what event I will get, but then you also have the interaction options. Remember, you got 3 different options that you can choose to do. That's the cultural festival, I want to say it's the feast, and it's the to the grounds. That's what it's called, right? And you have these options, and then on top of that, what your vassal's opinion of you is also influences fundamentally how well your tour will actually perform in that location. Interesting. The valid locations also have a map marker on them. Each activity can also be defined to only show the top X markers so as to not clutter the map. Hunts, for example, only show the top 5, though you can still pick any location you desire still. Right, the locations you can pick from are displayed on the map. Some ground is more suitable for hunting than others. The success chance will be higher in provinces which are wild, remote, have recent sightings, or have special buildings. So it's not mandatory to have a sighting to go out hunting, because obviously there are animals in the forest, but if you have a sighting, then it's better to go right there. And we're starting right here from Sjælland, and we're apparently going to Ormstrup, which seems to be pretty good. Okay. That seems to be a very attractive hunting ground indeed. Man, I love the idea of traveling like this. I cannot wait. I cannot wait until this comes out. That will be something, man. I'm so eager to get back into the game. Now's a good time for me to go a bit more in depth about the mechanics of a new activity. Each activity is now broken up into multiple distinct phases. A phase is a combination of two things, a location and some action you will do whilst there. Every activity handles their phases differently. Some, like hunts, are at a single location with a single predefined action. You go somewhere and you try and find some animal to brutally slaughter, or you can let that poor bunny rabbit run back to Bambi. Other activities, like a tour, are multiple locations with different actions you can pick. You can visit multiple of your vassals, and each tour stop is a phase, and you pick the action to do there. Tours also always insert a final predefined phase, which is your journey home. Let me just take a look at this right here, right? This is the feast activity. You can see the phase of maybe joining up and waiting, then the actual feast, then a toast, and then celebrating? Maybe this is the ultimate celebration, I'm not sure. Either way, so there are definitely different phases that have different things occur. I assume the grand marriage also has different stages, right? Getting wed, you know, that sort of stuff. Interesting. So that definitely mixes things up compared to how it is right now, where it's like, we have a hunt. Hello, I have shown up. Hello, here are 2 events. Okay, let's go home. You get, I believe, 150 prestige, right? That is a big shakeup. Now, could this be repetitive? The answer is yes. I think absolutely, there's no question about this. And I want to point this out because this is a debate that we need to be consciously aware of. What this DLC, what this free patch, what this rework is clearly sort of working with and learning from is the experience of the Royal Court. In the Royal Court, you had virtually no direction, right? In the Royal Court, you say, hey, here's a random court event, let's take it. Or you say, okay, let's hold court, and then 3 events pop up, and that's it. You don't have a choice, you can't set a theme, like, I want to deal with the peasants, I want to deal with my vassals. None of that stuff is viable, it's all random. Here, it is very different. You're going to see this later as well with the intent. You're going to see this with the actual theme of the hunt. I am so eager to see this in action because this sounds so much better. Every activity handles it differently, right? A tournament, on the other hand, is a single location with multiple different contests, but more about those in a future dev diary, so also in phases. All of these different requirements for what location and phases you can pick are fully moddable, including logic for if they are predefined, picked by the player, a combination of both, and if they take place at 1 or more locations. So the system is very versatile in what you can plan. All of these are taken care of in the activity planner. Modding here is mentioned, and will be mentioned a couple more times, because Matthew is a hero in the modding community. Let me just phrase it that way, because basically he has implemented so many things that made so many modding adventures viable. Always has modding in mind, without a doubt. For now, with hunts, we have chosen our location, and now we can see the route we will travel to our destination, as well as various options and guests that we can customize in the activity. Right, this is the classic travel planner, we've seen this before. I assume this means that the sea route here would be dangerous if we went through this terrain. I wonder why it wouldn't be dangerous here. Maybe it's just because we're so far removed from it. Who knows? Either way, we can see there's some terrain, there's some traveling going on here, and clearly there's a, what is this, marsh? Then here we have forest, so there's some terrain that we need to pass through, perfectly fine. Right here, we have the intent, and this is going to be big, and I'm going to prep myself to, can I actually do this? You know, give me a second here. Alright, there you go. Now, since we have a bunch of screenshots coming up, I can just remove myself with 1 click here, so that should be perfect. But as you can see down here, you can hopefully see that the hunt has an intent, has everything else. Then we got activity options right there, and then of course the guest list, as well as just regularly starting the hunt. For a refresher on the travel planner, go back and check out Dev Diary 119, as everything you could do for traveling there, you can do when you travel to any activity, such as changing your travel options and customizing your route. In the bottom right, though, you can see a few more options related to the activity itself. So this is the general travel planner, these are the other options. Let's take a look at the intents. Every activity has a default intent, which is generally recreation. You're going to just relax and try to reduce your stress. There are many more intents though, some shared and some unique to each activity, such as slay beasts that you can select. So slaying beasts would be for hunts, makes perfect sense, is only unique to hunts because what beast are you slaying at a wedding? Every character attending the activity has an intent, and you can change your intent midway through an activity if you decide to pursue something or else, or if you complete your intent and move on to another goal. Some intents without a specific goal, like recreation, cannot be failed, because you always manage to do something entertaining whilst at an activity. So this is really, really good. When we keep in mind that the weakness of the Royal Court on a fundamental, on a very basic design choice level is that you have no control around what type of events you want to see, what you want to achieve, right? Who you want to interact with. Yes, sure, you can host a grand rite, for example, as a witch, right? But if you want to make a very particular friend at that grand rite, you can only pray. The Royal Court fell for this exact trap. Sure, you want to hold court, but if you want, for example, more cultural acceptance, which many of the hold court events actually give, you can only pray. This is really bothersome, this is really tiresome, because you need to dance around this the entire time as you play the game. This is very, very clearly a lesson learned from this. Change the hunt intent. You can do recreation, slay beast, murder, seduce, or befriend. Previously, when you would attend a feast, when you would attend a hunt, there would be a chance, you know, for you to say, okay, maybe this guy might die here, but it's an entirely random event. It could feel out of place. You know, I believe there's an event actually where, like, somebody kills somebody, I think it's your heir, right? And then you can either hide it or you can kill them as well. I'm pretty sure that is an event anyway. I might be misremembering it from a childhood event, but I'm not sure. Anyway, where I'm coming from here is that oftentimes did not feel fitting in any way whatsoever. It felt extremely weird if you had a character that was a peace-loving, friendly guy. Now you can choose. Murder, seduce, befriend. The only thing that I will say here, murder, seduce, befriend, obviously I assume that you can choose who you're trying to seduce, befriend, or murder, right? But the only thing that I'm concerned by here could be, theoretically, that the intent and the activities with intents sort of make schemes obsolete, right? Wouldn't it just be easier to say, instead of scheming against you, spending money on agents, all that sort of stuff, I'm just going to invite you to a hunt and select the murder intent? I wonder how restricted this is with, you know, do I need to have, for example, a positive or a negative relationship? Do I need to be a rival? Do I need to be a nemesis? All that sort of stuff. And how successful it can actually be. Nowhere do they say this in this dev diary, but what I would actually like around this topic would be that you say, okay, I want to plan a murder, and if you have an actual scheme planned, boom, the scheme rushes to success and you can try it here. If you're not planning even a scheme, then maybe it's very unlikely that this actually happens. I don't know. I like the idea though, and we have to bring this up. It's a very, very good idea that they're basically saying, hey, listen, the way we're going to make this work is we understand that the random, that the completely out of the blue, and that the player has no choice whatsoever sort of selection of events that comes with holding courts and that came with previous activities, that sucks. This is a big part of what hopefully will be the solution for that exact problem. Some intents even come with a target you pick from your invited guests, such as trying to find an excuse to murder someone during a hunt, or maybe you've got more amorous plans. Right, we are going to murder this lady right here. You can see here this can be selected, so yeah, as I hoped. This indeed works. I really like it. It's really cool. I hope that every other character at an activity also has an intent, although that might lead to a lot of murders at any given activity, so that is a balancing issue. But fundamentally, this is so good. All of a sudden you can be directed. You can still fail, but hey, the event, the activity itself was an opportunity that you chose. I like this. This is a great implementation. I wish that, to a degree, this was sort of gonna be there for Royal Court as well. Listen, if I hold court, man, it would be cool if all of my vassals would travel to my location. It would be cool if I could choose I want to do this or that. Basically almost like a tour, but it's more focused on vassals petitioning, vassals squabbling against one another, all that sort of stuff. Royal Court with holding court is just, in comparison to this, absolutely paling. There are some additional options that you can pick depending on the activity type as well. These often have a cost attached to them in exchange for improving the activity. Or if you're low on cash, you can lower them to have a slightly less impressive time. Right, this I think is completely fine. We don't need to talk about this too long. Makes perfect sense, of course. This can also determine whether people are added to your entourage and so on and so forth. Right here, search parties increases success chance. Effect increases with court servants, court amenities. I like that this is influenced by court amenities. It's something that you see fairly rarely, but when you do see it, it's pretty neat. So these are just settings like that. They obviously will cost you more money. If you want to be, you know, like a king that goes on a Hajj and just distributes money everywhere, then, well, yeah, you have to plan for it. Each activity option and the activity itself can be scripted to invite people to your entourage, and they will try to add people who are relevant to the activity type. Additionally, most activities will automatically invite anyone in your entourage to the activity as a guest. Not all activities do this, such as playdates, because it would be pretty weird for your travel leader and bodyguards to come and hang out at a kid's party. Yeah. Speaking of a guest, let's take a look at who we want to invite to our activities. I like this. This just a straight up from my side. This is a straight up. I like this. I think this is good. Beautiful. You can select exactly what you want to see, then you can invite them. You can check whether they would be arriving in time, right? How long their travel would take. I very much like this. Gloryhound vassals appreciate the sport and will gain opinion. I read this and I said to myself, can I search for Gloryhounds? And the answer is yes. It's right here. Gloryhound vassals. Beautiful. Each attending hunter will slightly increase the success chance. Can I look for hunters? Well, we can, at the very least, look for court hunters. So there you go. This is great. This is just really great interface work. Usually when it comes to searching characters, CK3 is quite a bit behind in its UI. This is nice. We decided to go down the route of having various categories of guests you can invite. This is primarily set up to reduce micromanagement and let you invite groups of relevant people, as most of the time you would like to everyone who meets some category to be invited. Oh, wait a minute. Does it mean just everybody that I select here? So like I could include my rivals. Oh, that I like this a whole lot more than even I thought when I was reading this. I thought this was just so that I could see them here and then I click on this, but apparently if I highlight this, I'm inviting them? I hope so anyway. That would be amazing. I mean, that was just such an easy level of micromanagement at that point. Each character has an acceptance chance and an estimated travel time. If they cannot make it at all, they are likely to decline outright. There's also a limit to how many characters can attend a given activity. This depends on the activity type, with larger festivities like weddings and tournaments allowing more people than a hunt. If you go above the cap, then guests invited with a less important role will be filtered out first. Once the activity is started, you can still invite any character manually via character interaction. So you can invite people these groups don't catch, such as your friends in multiplayer. Right, so we can still do that manually, which basically means you have a really nice automation and then you can still do it on a manual basis as well. Certain activities have one or more special honorary guests. These are guests who the activity itself is centered around, such as the honored guest in a feast or the two spouses in a grand wedding. Depending on the activity type, these special guests are either selected by you from your attending guests or are automatically filled, such as in a grand wedding, because they're getting married. These honorary guests are much more likely to agree to attend an activity, and for some of them might even be required to attend, and you cannot plan the activity if they don't, like for example grand weddings. Once the activity begins, it will wait for the host and all the honorary guests to arrive before progressing to the festivities. So you might come late, but you can still participate even if it has already progressed past the initial phase. Less important guests who set out but do not make it get removed from the activity because it is deeply rude to be 3 months late to my party. Ed Wokeg. God damn it, can't you turn up on time? That does sound like Wokeg. Now that our planning is complete, we now move onward to our destination. As you can see right here, we get a special camp right there. We're walking over there. This is a hunting camp, and then we have a good time. I think first time I saw this, I called this out as a tournament ground. This was in the screenshot with Vratislav's tour. I think they were just having a hunt there. That is so cool. Anyway, most activity types have a unique map entity shown in the province where you choose to host. Here, I'm hunting in a province without a holding, but we can see the hunting tent still. And would you look at that? We have animated 3D horses now. Animated 3D horses in CK3. Animal Kingdoms, sure to be back soon. Quite neat. I like this. I think the general overview here is nice. It doesn't block away the entire screen, so that's quite decent as well. The success chance for hunt is only 26.5% because we are, I guess, focusing on recreation. That doesn't seem like it makes it more likely. I'm going to break this image down a bit by section. In the center, we have the main stage, which has the background and set of characters based on the current state of the activity. You can see it here as well. Right now, it is me traveling towards my hunt on my trusty steed, now fully modeled in the game. Right, and then we're here with the hunters, and we're currently waiting, as you can see. At the bottom, we've got quite a few more elements. Going from left to right, we first see our current state in the hunt. There are 3 states you can be in during an activity. Travel, right, when you want to get there. Waiting, when you're just hanging around. And the interesting part here is, Some activities skip this phase once everyone has arrived. This is mainly for thematic reasons, as it makes little sense to wait another month to start hunting when everyone is there with their bow in hand already. Many are events that revolve around the guests and your intent, so they can already be events. That's quite nice, it's not just empty space. Active. You are at the destination and the phase is in full swing. This can be a contest in a tournament, hunting your prey, or engaged in a tour stop. This is where you get events where specific to this activity and your current phase. So, you travel there, you wait there, when you travel you get events, when you wait there you get events, and then in the actual activity you also get events. Can you imagine this in the game? Right now, I click the button, I get 3 events, I go home. That's it, that's the T. This is nice. Below that, we have information on your current intent, which we are free to change at any time during the activity as long as there isn't currently an event open. Makes sense. For hunts, we have the success chance widget, which shows how likely we are to succeed in a hunt at all. Every activity can contain custom UI elements specific to that activity type to help convey information. For example, tours instead have a bar, showing how much you have managed to meet the goal of your tour type, if you've been particularly majestic or really managed to intimidate people. Right, and then for the modders out there, this is all customizable. God bless ya. Around your current phase, there's a progress wheel which ticks up each week and has a chance to fire an activity pulse action, what our designers have lovingly shortened to APAs. These pulse actions are smaller events more akin to toasts, in which you get informed about what people in the activity are getting up to. It may be you make extra progress in tracking the bow in your hunt. It could also be 2 guests getting more friendly with each other. Hopefully, depending on their intents, they're not mentioning it here, but still. Your spouse showing off at your feast, or someone gifting you a trinket in honor of your grand wedding. All of these appear in the top right of the screen and last for a few seconds before fading away. The UI for these actions is currently work in progress and will change before final release. I gotta tell you, I actually like the UI a lot. I think what they're doing here currently with the activities is really nice UI that is easy to understand, and everything here can be caught up. You can, even if you miss it, you can take a look at the activity log and just track it all. And by the way, these are new codes for sure. Is there anything else new? Let me actually go back here, right? These are the old codes. Yep, okay. I don't see anything new in here just yet. This is later, so don't worry about that just yet either. Alright, anyway, I really like this window. Let me know what you think about it. So this is not a window that locks you in like Royal Court does. This is a window that appears to be on the map, as you can see it right here as well, right, with the background indeed being the map. And all of these, along with other events that take place related to your activity, generate log entries, which are opened using the button in the bottom right. You can see this right here. For example, we spent a night with Anna, then the skilled master of the hunt gave us an effect right here, success chance increases, and King Sven II decided to chase and corner the wolf. So what we actually do here is listed. You see, I wish this was stored somewhere in your save game. So currently there's an issue anyway. So we have all these memories now that are really cool, but you purge them from your save game if, for example, your character dies. And it's kind of annoying because I thought when we were talking about memories initially, right, when this system released, that they would be stored in a fashion of a chronicle almost. But that is not the case, just to purge the save, it just makes it easier. But in the end, this log probably doesn't last longer than the activity itself, which, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to spend too much time looking at the log itself. Speaking of activity events, here is how they appear. They operate much like our regular events, but take place inside the activity window itself, so all the information you need about them is at hand. Right, so this is the window that we have up here, except everybody here disappeared, and now the event is taking place instead. Hunt. Pack of Pests. Duke Thrugot, your master of the hunt, summons the party together as the light reaches the camp in the forest near Ormstrup. The local gamekeepers have scoured the vicinity for recent tracks and fumes. The pack is a nuisance, scavenging from farms and retreating deep into the forest. Thrugot shrugs. No matter. A despised wolf can still give mighty good sport. Let's get out of there. I'd rather flush out a fox, or I came to hunt a stag. So wolf, fox, or stag. Definitely gotta go for the wolf here, right? But this is a neat activity window for sure. Also, everything again here is present. You see the success chance, and I assume then, if you hover over this, you see how things will be influenced. It's all quite there in place. Once the last phase in activity is complete, we enter the conclusion. Here we tie up the narrative threads and give you a summary of the most important effects that impacted you during this activity. So here we have the hunt conclusion. We clearly got wounded. Halvor is doing well. He is a hunter, and Duke Thrugot still as cocky as he was earlier. Hunts like these are a pure joy. I cannot wait for next year. We return home from the wolf's hunt in glory. Effects from the hunt, so we become a hunter. We get a lot of prestige. We lose stress, and then our glory hound vassals from one hunt are getting 20 opinion. That is quite significant. Every participating guest also actually gets a lot of prestige here, man. This is something that we talked about in an earlier Dev Diary video. This is a lot of prestige. 1125 prestige is a lot of prestige for a normal hunt. We did succeed, I guess. I guess we did succeed. It was a wolf. I don't know. You know, I really hope that the payout for these activities isn't too high. Busting the entire balancing around when can you create titles, how much do people respect you, because the more prestige you get, the more splendid. Yeah, I don't know. Listen, I'm very cautious on these issues. I'm not certain about this. Anyway, so this is basically how activities work in general. Now let's talk about hunts. This one was written by Joe. Hunts, of course, provide opportunities to prove your vigor, gain some sweet prestige, and take a lot of stress off, with the odd accident thrown in for good measure. With the location and activities overalls coming with tours and tournaments, we took the chance to revamp hunts, tying them more closely to the map and improving the experience. For anyone expecting hunts would only have a minor facelift, hold on to your bikockets. It's time to stalk our quarry. As mentioned above, you can pick what type of hunt to host. Legendary is now only available once your character has caught the bug, and only in places you suspect the mythical animal to actually be. More on this later. Huge fan of this. While we have added lots of new content to the base hunts in the free update, Falconry will also be available to owners of the Tours and Tournaments expansion with its own events, equal sex participation, and a separate hunter trade track. More on this later too. Secondly, you now decide where it is you want to hunt, with a variety of factors playing into your selection. You can now host a hunt in any barony within your subrealm, traveling to the location and back, as we have previously established. The planner will show you the best places in your realm to hold a hunt, with tooltips giving a rough breakdown of the reasons. Now, we had already talked about this earlier, but let's just take a look at this tooltip right here. There was a boar sighting giving us a big reason to go there. There's forest, there are hunting grounds, and then there is high development and a forestry building, which both make it so that there is less success with the hunt. So that means you really might want to build up certain counties to have certain buildings rather than just building it based on what is best for your income and best for your men-at-arms, so that your hunts will actually be successful, because, well, if hunts give you infinite prestige, then that is incredibly powerful. Obviously, they also give you other boons as well. The planner will show you the best places in your realm to hold a hunt, with tooltips giving a rough breakdown of the reasons. Now, you might well ask, but what do these pluses and minuses actually mean? And what on earth is a sighting? I'm glad you asked. Right, let's talk about the success chance. The success chance is an abstraction of a variety of factors which play into how likely you are to actually succeed. If you're taking a look at this, where are we here? CK3's. This is surely the Arabian Peninsula. We can take a look at this, and you can see that we're positively influencing our success chance via learning, martial, prowess, the hunter trait experience that we have, master of the hunt aptitude, then the attendance activity option. Don't know what that means. Oh, it is the activity option where you can pay extra money. Makes sense. No holding in Awan makes it better because it is wilderness, but high development in Awan makes it worse. That makes perfect sense. And is this, by the way, is this a new symbol? I believe that's a new symbol, the two hands shaking? Maybe. Anyway, so this is what is influencing success chance. Master of the Hunt is now available to all tiers, given its new importance in the activity. It didn't make sense to limit it to only kings and above anymore. You can now focus on developing specific holdings for hunts and offset penalties in locations which might not be naturally advantageous. For example, high development or a recently held hunt reduces success chance in a barony, while a royal reserves building or sighting will increase it. The more we have buildings that impact these things, the happier I will be. We already now will have a much tighter selection of buildings since you have fewer building slots until the endgame. This means you might build up a county to literally just be there for the hunts, because that is all the slots that you have. I am here for it. We got the Hound Pens, for example, increases hunt sighting chance and hunt success chance for hunt activities hosted in this holding. Also gives other stuff, but come on, I care about the flavor. Since you can host hunts in your vassals' lands, it is also possible to take advantage of their holdings. It's good to be the king. Now, here we have the topic of sightings. Sightings represent rumors of abundant or rare game in a county, temporarily raising the success chance of hunts held there and are only usable by the one who received them. As hunts held without a sighting give no guarantee of specific animals, sightings are also guaranteed opportunities to pursue prestigious game. So basically, I will start hosting a hunt. I will get there, select my prey, like they did earlier with the wolf, the fox, or the stag right here, and this will be a guaranteed option for whatever I'm seeing here in the sighting option, which is great, because that means you know what kind of artifact, what kind of animal you would be hunting, and whether you get a lot of prestige, whether it is honorable, and so on and so forth. The powerful bear of Oigon. My master of the hunt, Chieftain Arkai, brings words of beasts spotted in my realm. I'm hearing much talk from Oigon. It is said a foul bear has been terrorizing the local villages, snatching livestock before disappearing into the slopes. Very interesting. Do not bother me with this. Okay, fair enough. If you don't want to hunt within this lifetime, then, you know, obviously you don't need to see this. Sighting events may fire if you have employed a master of the hunt or have a hunter at court, with their frequency and location influenced by your lifestyle experience, master of the hunt aptitude, and certain buildings. Beast sighting. A ferocious leopard has reportedly been terrorizing this county. Man, that is cool. I want to hunt a leopard. Legendary hunts are also explicitly tied to legendary sightings, which are now required for such a hunt to be hosted, and can be received either from events within the hunt activity or from sighting events once you have first spotted a legendary beastie. So, oh, my god, they actually turned the white stag into an actual sighting sort of mini tracker. If I go hunting often, obviously there's a higher chance that we're going to be seeing the white stag. We can't capture it at the time, but we will see it, right? And then later on I would go out in the search of the white stag. I gotta tell you, so all these changes, just to sum this up, and we still have a whole bunch to go, but all these changes amount ultimately to the following. Hunting is now a true lifestyle. Feasting is now a true lifestyle. It always was, obviously, eager reveler, the hunter, and so on and so forth, but the way you interact with it now is very much by choice. You could have 1,000 hunts and never catch anything because all you do is seduce people on the hunt, right? You can invite a whole bunch of different people, whether you want to kill them or whether you want to make friends with them. There's so much purpose now between these activities that lifestyle traits are actually starting to make sense as a term. Right? Before that, fairly random, you just said that you hoped you would get one, that is all you can do. Now you're looking at this and you're saying to yourself, wait a minute, I can actually very proactively live my life like this. I am so happy with the way activities are working here now. You travel there, that is eventful, you are there, that is eventful, and then whenever you host more, obviously different directions will emerge. Interesting. As you may have noticed above, the prestige rewards are now also more explicitly tied to the animal you are hunting. Peril is an abstraction of the specific dangers associated with an animal. A boar is far more dangerous than a fox, but therein lies the glory. Hunt. Good prospects. The party is called to assemble as dawn breaks over the camp in the woods near Gudakva. The local gamekeepers have scoured the vicinity for recent tracks and fumes. Right, let's get out there. This would be a roe, so this is basically what we're here for. There is clearly a small roebuck nearby. So that is the one that is suggested because we've seen it, which would make it easier. The prestige would be mediocre, the peril would be mild. I want to hunt something with vim. Well, we'll corner a tricksy hare instead, or I came to hunt stag. Very interesting. So you got a choice here. Obviously, this is the most natural choice indeed. I really wonder... Sorry, I'm stuck mentally, sort of. I'm stuck with the idea of how much prestige will you get for a failed hunt. What we had above was a successful hunt, and it gave you a lot of prestige for just a hunt. How much does that deviate? These are the questions that I have, because again, I'm looking at this. I'm super excited for this. My two big worries are just, will it make schemes virtually obsolete? And on the other hand, will it make it so that you just swim in prestige and in piety and all that stuff? When there is not a specific sighting present, your game masters will suggest the most favorable animal to hunt on the day. You may also decide you want to hunt something else for a small decrease to your success chance. That makes perfect sense. Hunt. Cornering the bear. After hours of riding, we are finally cornering the wild beast. Our chase has not been in vain. Whether tired or defiant, the bear at last halts, turns towards us, and lets out an almighty roar. The huntsmen sheepishly surrounded with their spears as it swipes its deadly claws. We can shoot it, I will bring it down myself, there's a death chance here. Spears ready, forward, unleash the hounds, stop, release the poor thing, I want it alive. These are an insane amount of options, hello? that is not normal, these are an insane amount of options. There's a lot of stress gain potentially here as well if it goes wrong, I guess. But yeah, it's a bear. God damn. This danger will usually manifest in the outcome of a successful hunt, where you may decide how to bring the animal down. Single-handedly slaying a lion is an impressive feat, but shooting it or using the advantage of numbers will help stave off your heir's succession. Yep, perfectly reasonable. Now, mount its head, my guest will see its majesty, or my son Kanadeva will appreciate the trophy. So, if you mount the head, you will become the owner of terrifying tiger skull. I assume the son otherwise becomes the owner. Which seems kind of useless, because this seems like a trophy for your throne room, and your son surely doesn't have a throne. Whatever. Has happened. You gained 15 trade experience in Venator. That is a hunter sub-trait. You're going to see this in a second. You gained 900 prestige. Tiger skull, 900 prestige. It seems to be pretty static. A tiger skull, I would expect to be much, much higher than hunting a boar or whatever, right? You lost 92 stress because you're a hunter, and then this, of course, the gain right there. Yep, fairly classic. In addition to the prestige gained from slaying the beast, more perilous animals also increase the overall prestige rewards of successful hunts, generally produce rarer artifacts, and award more hunter trade experience. It should also be mentioned that the rewards of legendary hunts now also scale with the animal type. Cornering the white hare of Cabernock is a feat to be sure, but not quite as impressive as undoing the black leopard of Sony. that kind of makes sense. As a side note, the variety of animals has also been upped considerably, based on region and terrain, providing more regional flavor and bringing an end to the hordes of deer currently dominating the map. Examples include bison, roe, elk, gazelle, antelope, hyenas, and leopards. Very, very cool. Now, when we talk about participation, we can actually skip this section, I would argue. In standard hunts, it is just the martial sex, and then in falconry hunts, it is any sex, because that is traditionally and historically speaking something practiced by both sexes as a noble social pursuit, and thus open for all bird enthusiasts to enjoy. I wonder, can you hunt the same animals? Who knows? Intents. Now, we have already talked about intents here. We just see the general impression. Obviously, slay beast is unique to hunting. Makes perfect sense. Then we got recreation, murder, seduce, and befriend. All of these completely reasonable. Again, for me, my worry is just, will they basically make schemes obsolete? Hunter trait. Speaking of falconry, the hunter trait has received some love too. Relying on RNG, hidden script, and reading the entrails of chickens to determine when your trait will level up is a thing of the past. I love this. This is great. So you have this lifestyle trait now. And to practice this lifestyle is a much more proactive and sort of determined choice than it is in the game right now. But not just that. Actually picking this stuff up is an integral part of it. I'm so happy with this lifestyle rework. So now you have hunter trait paths, which means if you do normal hunts a lot, this will level up. If you do falconer hunts a lot, this will level up. And once they level up, one has to assume, right, they give you more bonuses. My god. It is also now split into two tracks, Venator and Falconer, representing the skills and knowledge of the respective pursuits. More on the above in a future dev diary. Really cool. Like this in itself it just adds exactly to the direction where the events are going anyway, where they are making it a much more conscious choice. Really, really neat. Now when it comes to art, let's just take a look at it. We got Heinrich IV, we got... I want to say this is Angria, right? Is this the Duke of Angria? Can somebody confirm this? And then here we have, of course, Matilda. I like the new animations. I feel kind of weird about some of the most recent new animations because they feel like they're motion tracking, right? But they haven't been tempered. Like, you need to change the animation a bit when you do motion tracking. And sometimes it doesn't feel like that is the case. Here, this seems like fairly tame animations. Not too fast, not too slow, right? Completely reasonable, yeah. Anyway, let's move on to Trin Tragulus, to Henrik's section here. This is about pilgrimages and is equally as cool as hunts, if you ask me. The ambition for the pilgrimage rework has been for us to provide a more full experience of what a pilgrimage would have been like, both for the pious characters of the game world as well as those who would take on a pilgrimage more as an opportunity to see the world itself. First of all, you have to plan your pilgrimage. Much like tours, the pilgrimage will have a bar that measures how successful you have been in acting in accordance with the pilgrimage type. The type, as well as your intent and options, will determine what rewards you can reap by engaging in the activity, as well as what type of content you will get on your way there. As I said, the big lesson from Royal Court and Holding Court is that having no influence in what will be thrown at you in that feels bad. Here, you select a theme, you select a tent, boom. That is what the events that you get will be focused around. A much, much better approach. Now, when we have the types here, we got 3 types. There are 3 types of pilgrimage that a character can embark on: pious, worldly, and Hajj. Obviously, the last one is a very special one because it is the one that you have to do if you want to be a pious Muslim. These types govern what rewards you can expect from your pilgrimage, as well as what choices you will be presented with on your way to the holy site. A pious pilgrimage is one where the pilgrimage and the holy site are a means to spiritual growth and enlightenment, or at least to appear as a devout ruler. And if you pick this, obviously, then the events, what you get when you travel there and when you are there, will actually be selected with that theme in mind. Pilgrimage, Safa, and Marwa. My next task is to walk 7 times between the 2 holy points Safa and Marwa in order to commemorate Hajjar's desperation and efforts to find water for his son Ismail, who later on became the forefather of the blessed prophet. As I prepare myself for the rite, I take in the sight of the Safa and Marwa and note the large amount of pilgrims already making their way between the hills from all walks of life. Doing this, a meticulous 7 laps will do. I assume there can be more choices here if you have a particular character. Your pilgrimage becomes more pious, which then pushes this further and further. How much you actually want this to be pushed, you know, obviously maybe there are events where the other options to not make it pious are good enough that you would pick those over the actual reward. I wonder what the actual rewards will be anyway. The Hajj is only available to Muslim characters, and a Hajj must always be targeting the holy site of Mecca. Once a Muslim character has undertaken a Hajj, they can later in life also perform other pilgrimages to the holy sites of their faith, so the Hajj goes first. A Hajj is otherwise similar to a pious pilgrimage and differs from the other types mainly by what happens when you are at the holy site. Makes perfect sense. Right, and once you complete it, you get the Hajj trait. You can see it right here as well. Having prayed at the place of Abraham, walked between Safa and Marwa, drank water from the Zamzam well, and sacrificed to Allah, I am now ready to complete the Hajj. The next rite I must undertake is to cut my hair. Traditionally, men shave all of it off, but dispensation is occasionally granted to cut off only part, and women are restricted to just a lock. Shave it all off, or cut just a lock of hair as well. Right, look at that. And this obviously makes them more pious. We've already reached level 2. That is quite nice. What is that frame? That's an interesting frame, isn't it? Yeah, there are these scales. Look at the scales down there. Interesting. Anyway, the new activity also comes with new special clothing made for when you have performed the traditional Hajj. I would assume it's this, right? Cool. Okay, cool. Yeah, I like that a lot for sure. Undertaking a worldly pilgrimage means that the journey will be a goal in itself more than a spiritual awakening. Your character will be given opportunities to interact with the locals of the lands you pass through, and engaging with them you can increase what you get out of the pilgrimage. Right, a worldly pilgrimage will still give you piety. You are undertaking a holy ritual after all, but less so than a pious pilgrim. Instead, you will also gain cultural acceptance as well as opinions of other cultures and faiths. Oh, that is very interesting. I'm gonna have a multicultural empire and then do a detour through the entirety of it to get acceptance with every culture. As we saunter past the stalls of the Santiago market, we are approached by a peculiar man. He unabashedly addresses us. My lord, you look like a refined gentleman. I know of a simple divine experience not far from Santiago which would surely be of interest to any dedicated pilgrim. Elfgar on my right frowns and subtly shakes his head. A warning? Color me intrigued. My pilgrimage becomes more worldly. I think this is I'll pass, right? I'm not sure. Shows you a truly divine experience. Oh no, okay, so this is color me intrigued. You increase your learning by 1, and you get experience in the pilgrim trait, or you're tricked into a dangerous situation and we lose 15 bucks. Listen, all I'm saying is, if you get, after a successful hunt of like a boar or some cringe animal, like 1,000 prestige, and just attending a hunt as a visitor, no, listen, you know what? Now that I think about it, attending a hunt is insane. You don't pay any money, you just go there, you pay money for the travel, sure, but we have seen it earlier. You get like 500 bucks. 500 prestige. Just for attending. If you attend any random hunt that is hosted in your vicinity, which can't be that few, you get infinite prestige for no money. These numbers do not seem right to me. And this is work in progress, I'm sure. But I'm just saying, this event is like 15 bucks. Who cares about 15 bucks? Are you crazy? But if you do a single hunt as just a participant, you get 500 prestige. This is mad. These numbers, hopefully, are gonna get tweaked, okay? Activity options. Like all activity in this new system, pilgrimages have 2 option types. These mainly affect the speed and rewards of the activity. Firstly, we have fidelity. The fidelity option is about how true you want to stay to an ideal pilgrimage. In some ways, it is a measure of how seriously you take the holy journey itself. This option lets you trade speed for higher rewards. You can choose to go longer and dwell on your spiritual journey, or you can choose to go faster at the cost of lower rewards at the end. We are here in Sicily, or well, in southern Italy. Throng. Every interested character at court joins you. Up to 20 random pilgrims join your train. Much more piety earned on completion. I like that you can have random pilgrims. I really do like this. All the faithful should see our sacred places, and I intend to help them. I don't see an option here to invite people other than the people we're selecting via the option. 3 in entourage, maybe here? Not sure. Interesting. I would like to do like a family pilgrimage, you know, that sort of stuff maybe? Who knows? Pomp. This option governs the size of your entourage. So this is Pomp right here. You can choose to go alone. Oh no, wait a minute. This is Pomp, right? This one is Pomp. And then this one would be Fidelity. There you go. You can choose to go alone and save on costs as well as increasing the perceived piousness of your endeavor if taking a bigger risk on your way there. On the other hand of the spectrum, you can spend more and take most of your court with you on this journey, greatly increasing your safety and the public perception of your pilgrimage, which also increases the final rewards. Right. So you can be super cheap with a lot of piety or super expensive with potentially a lot of piety. Interesting. Intents. Separate from the type of pilgrimage is the intent, which is individual to each attending character. Oh, thank God. That's a confirmation. I was wondering about this earlier. I wasn't sure about this. That means every grand wedding, every feast, every tournament, they all have their own intents, which then will surely, hopefully, reflect back on me based on what they do. Again, I know I keep repeating myself here, but I really need to measure this up. Holding court, you press the button, 3 people pop up, it's just a set of events, that's the way it is, boom, there you go, Bob's your uncle. Nothing else influences what happens, it's a random pool, it checks whether an event is viable, boom, there you go, that's it. This right here, you set the theme, you set the activity option, which determines who is there, you invite people, which determines who is there, you set your own actual intent, and then they set their intents. There's no way I'm not saying, and this has to be stressed, I'm not saying that this wouldn't or can't be repetitive. It surely will be. If you put hundreds of hours into anything, it will be repetitive, but man, this is a way better structure to avoid this than Royal Court ever did it. That is really interesting. That's a good approach. I wonder whether you could apply this to other situations. For example, like, even just a scheme, whether you couldn't focus on, like, how you want to execute the scheme. You know, like, for example, murdering somebody, it can be a public thing. I don't see why it wouldn't be a thing to scare other people away, right? To send a message, basically. Execution kind of already does this, but you need to have them in your prison to do that. I hope that they expand on working with that system, because it seems to be a very clear alley towards delivering content to the player that the player actually wants to see, and towards delivering content to the player that is, you know, just varied, because there are many different intents and themes at work here. Reflections, a calm clearing. Here in the quietness of the Venaisson roadside, I feel an overwhelming sense of peace and tranquility wash over me. Ooh, and this is a new outfit. Look at that. Even this is, the circlet here is new. Oh, that is very, very cool. That looks so good. Right, like none I've experienced before. Just beyond a small ridge, I see a clearing off the side of the path where neither man nor beast seems to have entered in decades. I can feel God's presence here, and perhaps I ought to linger here in quiet contemplation for a while. Your pilgrimage becomes more pious. Matilda's pilgrimage is delayed by 10 days. We're going to Santiago, as you can see. We're taking the land route all the way over here from our capital. And this would, yeah, make it more pious, make it better. Of course, we are contemplating at a supposedly holy place. Reflection. The reflection intent focuses on content relating to the spiritual and intellectual growth of your character. Apart from piety, it is very likely your character will also lose a fair amount of stress with this intent. Altruism, the royal touch. I know I'm repeating myself a lot, but if you get 100 piety from this event, man, the balancing needs to, okay? I feel like these numbers are a little big, okay? Obviously the money here is cheated in, but who knows, maybe this isn't cheated in? Just, I hope they're careful. Word of my arrival seems to have spread off Beylik Anbar to Beylik Anbar, as I and entourage is soon beset with countless serfs begging to be blessed with a royal touch. I could, of course, simply sprinkle a little water blessed by myself upon them, and they would surely be satisfied, but granting them blessed coins to soothe their infected areas would keep them happy and blessed for much longer. Altruism, the royal touch. Ah. I shall distribute blessed coins. A sprinkling of water should satisfy them, or they get nothing. Interesting. I like this event in particular. That's actually a really cool event. This intent is one you will remember from the tour's development diary. Yes. The altruism intent will offer you opportunities to show your piousness through your generosity, leading to opportunities to increase your piety as well as popular opinion. Zealous, generous, and improvident characters will also lose stress with this option. Ah. Maybe improvident isn't all that terrible anymore. Zealotry, a crisis of faith. As I continue my holy journey. Why are we walking over here? Where are we going? Are we going to Jerusalem? And we're seriously walking? We're walking? Huh. I encounter a man by the roadside, caked in filth and wet with tears. Are you happy now? You've taken everything from me. How am I to go in a world ruled by a creature as cruel as Allah? Clearly he is desperate and having a crisis of faith. We are on a holy journey. Join us. He would convert to Catholicism, joins our pilgrimage, becomes our friend, joins our court. Interesting. You can bring back friends with you that are very foreign at that point. You might be able to collect, like, cultures that you want to settle. Man, I'm gonna play around with this so much. But yeah, okay. First of all, very confused by who would walk through Muslim Africa on your way to Jerusalem. That's crazy. But second of all, so this is zealotry right here. You can get people to join you and convert. For those with a strong religious conviction, a pilgrimage is not just an opportunity to learn about the faith, it is also when you can spread your own ideas of the divine. Zealots will gain piety through engaging in religious debates and will be given opportunities to convert characters both en route and at the holy site itself. And then the act of pilgrimage and the arrival at the holy site. So this is when you actually are there. Reflections, the empires of yesteryear. Wandering this path, I have encountered many reminders of those who came before me. Here in Savona, I have come across the crumbling remains of a shrine to the ancient Roman pantheon. Demeter and all her beauty smiles at me with a half-cracked mouth, and Zeus' face has been eroded almost beyond recognition. Perhaps one day some other woman will wander this path and contemplate the fallen duchy of Tuscany and the Catholic faith practiced by its duchess. I should contemplate old empires, ancient faiths, nonsense. Tuscany will last forever. Look at that, yeah, okay. I'm curious how many events you will get for this, because that might be a lot of events, and if one gives you this, okay, I know I've repeated myself enough there. Once you've planned the activity, you will embark on the journey itself, encountering both the usual travel dangers and other interactions, as well as engaging with opportunities relating to the choices you made for the activity. Here, for example, we arrive at Ujjayini, a holy site. Arriving in the ancient city of Ujjain, Ujjain, I get it. I begin making my way towards the Mahakaleshwar Jyotirlinga. That's not fair. Dedicated to Lord Shiva in his incarnation as Mahakaleshwar. The city has long been both a pilgrimage and administrative center, creating a great bustling metropolis that pulses with the lives of the faithful. After arriving at the great temple, I seek the blessing of the Swami, cleaning my soul of its sins. So this is the fairly standard, I would argue, event. I'm pretty sure this is in vanilla right now, right? The sort of, hey, I've arrived. Except, obviously, the travel part isn't in it at all. Right, and then pilgrimage conclusion. So here you go. This is Heinrich IV, and here's a new mantle, look at that. As our time at the sacred site draws to an end, I'm ecstatic that this pilgrimage has been one of, if not the most devoted pilgrimage through all time. The Lord is smiling at me, this being my first pilgrimage, and while no pilgrimage is exactly alike, I feel confident that I am more familiar with what to expect from this type of spiritual journey in the future. 40 trait experience in the experienced pilgrim trait. Because your faith has the armed pilgrimage tenet, you get determined pilgrim, right? And you gain 1,250 piety. Okay, I will say 1.25k piety for, like, the full level of piousness achieved seems a bit little. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows how easy it is? There's so many questions here. I just pray that it's not as unbalanced as it feels. Anyway, the pilgrim trait, look at that. Right, and we have our background here as well. Ooh, and this is a spouse regent. Honestly, I hope that the regent only is here because they are our spouse as well. If the regent fundamentally is here, why not, like, put it here as its own portrait? Right? Because what if I have a spouse, but my spouse isn't my regent? Man, I love the little man walking here. That is so good. Alright, look at that. This is the experienced pilgrim trait. First of all, we have this. And then we have the pilgrim trait. Matilda has traveled extensively on pilgrimage and is known as something of an expert in pilgrim travel groups. Right, it must be a fairly long journey, I suppose. It is 1073. It's been a while since this pilgrimage began. At your destination, it is also where you will pick up the pilgrim trait. Unlike the one for Hans, this trait has only one experience track, which increases with every undertaken pilgrimage, reflecting how the act of pilgrimage has become an increasingly important aspect of your character's life and reputation. Conclusion. Right, thanks for reading, everyone. We hope these details have got you excited to play some of the reworked activities. We'll be reading and answering questions here today, and we'll be talking more about the other reworked activities in the new grand activities in the future. However, for next week, we're taking a look at the much requested Regency mechanics, and showing how elegant the fashion in your empire can be. Ooh, fashion and Regencies. Let's sum up this dev diary. The reworks to activities are clearly learning their lessons from the Royal Court issues that came with the Royal Court events, Holding Court, and the Random Court events. This is fundamentally a really good thing. What I am worrying about is really only one thing. I think the way they're managing the intent, the theme, the holdings, the travel, all that stuff, I'm a big fan. I think this will be incredibly enriching to the way that I personally play the game. If you play it like me, this will be very enriching to you. What I'm worried about, and I said this last week already when we were talking on the issue of the sort of modifier stacking, that the new changes to Men-at-Arms and that the new changes to the domain are trying to counteract, but then we got Splendor, we got all that nonsense Grandeur and Court, and it is just so inflationary. What I fear is that with a density of events, if I travel for a long time, if I arrive somewhere and then there are a lot of events, and then that event itself, the activity itself, is going to give me more prestige or piety or whatever I might be getting out of it, my worry is that we're going to see an even bigger inflation in numbers. Is this true? Oh my god. Okay, let's assume for a second, and I cannot prove this. No, I can't prove this. 1072, okay? 1072. Look at it right there. She has 826 piety, okay? 1073. This is the same pilgrimage. 3,654. This is too much. Please, adjust the numbers. Other than that, I'm excited for the Regency dev diary. I think these are great changes, but balancing must be considered here. And I find it vital because CK3, while I don't agree with fundamentally, just trying to make it more hostile towards the player, I do think inflation of points makes more memorable characters less memorable because everybody has this much points. Let me know what you think, and I'll leave you here for the moment. I will see you later. Alligator.